Hey there riders, Moto Journo Kris here today, and I wanted to have a chat about my Shoei Hornet ADV, or I believe these are called the X2 in some markets. I have had this helmet for a number of years now, I think 3 plus years, and I got the helmet to test very kindly from McLeod Accessories, who are the Shoei importers here in Australia, and basically the thought was to use it as an adventure helmet. However, I just found this helmet so good, I've used it as an everyday lid since then. I've really used it for everything. I've put the peak back on today, as you can see here, but generally speaking, unless I'm doing actual adventure riding, I don't usually use the peak. On the freeway, while it is very aerodynamic, when you're doing head checks, it certainly catches the wind a little bit, and it just adds to the level of fatigue that you'll get overall wearing this helmet. When we're talking about kind of proper adventure riding, it's a little bit of a different story because the sun protection, keeping the sun off your eyes, even with a tinted visor like I've got here, it's a huge advantage. And the reduction in eye strain I find in that, because particularly in the adventure conditions, I find often you're riding under trees, so there are really drastic changes in the light levels, and keeping the light out of your eyes is enormous. I know some people say, oh, these aren't like big enough or long enough to stop roost and stuff like that, but that's not really a concern for me adventure riding. Certainly when I've been following people, dust has been an issue because dust stays in the air for a considerable amount of time. And one of the things I do like about this particular helmet is I can actually run a set of goggles with the visor still attached. I just put it up, run the goggles in there. These are actually a set of Oakley goggles. You can only run a smaller goggle because of the inlet size, the eye kind of size there, but that's not too much of an issue for me. And while I've normally used the visors, I did find on some of the adventure rides following others, particularly with contact lenses, I was just getting so much dust in my eyes that I really realized how important having goggles was over just using a visor, which has always done the job for me as far as road riding. As far as my overall thoughts of this helmet, it's a 1.5 kilo helmet, so it's not super heavy, but it's not super light either. But it's certainly never been an issue for me. It's got quite a deep chin, which gives it a nice bit of breathing space. It really flows air. I have got the chin piece in because I've been using my GoPro and trying to do a little bit of motovlogging. One thing I will say is that it is a helmet which in some respects is fairly quiet. And certainly at lower speeds, like at lower adventure riding speeds, where you're in the more technical stuff, it's very quiet there. On the freeway though, it's not the quietest of helmets, and certainly when I've tried motovlogging in it, the amount of wind noise, even just it seems catching the shell, does get picked up by the microphone. Now, the helmet I'll be replacing this with is a Shoei GT-Air 2. My wife very kindly bought it for me for my birthday as a replacement for this helmet. I'm not going to be getting rid of this helmet. It'll just be my adventure helmet. So it'll just be used for that from now on, where the Shoei GT-Air 2 will be my everyday helmet, and I'm going to try and get the motovlogging set up in that. A couple of thoughts. This has the D-clips, which are my preferred. I don't like the clips. The Shoei GT-Air 2 has the clip or the ratchet kind of strap, and it's nowhere near as comfortable, but I really didn't have an option there without totally changing my choice of helmets. This helmet as well, I would say it is a Snugger Fit. It is very snug here, so when you're putting the helmet on, you can find it squashes your ears and your face quite significantly. I got used to it and it wore in a little bit as well. And I would say compared to all the other Shoei helmets that I own, it's a little bit tighter across the forehead. So that's something worth considering. Where a medium in all my Shoei helmets are the perfect fit, I do find there's just that little bit of pressure across my forehead. And certainly for freeway riding and with the peak on, where I think it creates a little bit more pressure on the helmet just because of the aerodynamics, that becomes even more noticeable. Is that a make or break situation? I've had this helmet for 3+ years now, certainly not. But if you are testing one of these out and you're used to a Shoei size, I'd say wear it in the shop for 10-15 minutes and just make sure that it feels right, which is something you should really do with helmets generally speaking anyway. You can get smaller sized internals like the cheek pads as well, so that is an option for you for kind of getting the perfect fit, but whether you want to spend that money is up to you. The tinted visor that I've got here, I don't have the pin lock in the tinted visor, I've got it in the plain visor. The pin lock is an absolute lifesaver, even though this breathes really, really well. In the really damp and wet conditions, you want a pin lock in it, and the helmet comes with it, so that's a little bit of a saving, but this is quite a premium helmet. I think they're about $900+ here in Australia. And while it's an expensive helmet, like I said, 3 or 4 years, it has done the job exceptionally. I've been really happy with it. Very few complaints, realistically speaking, and I'm just super happy, and I would definitely recommend it for somebody. I guess I would say if you're a mainly road rider who wants a do-it-all helmet that's still capable for doing some adventure riding, definitely check one of these out. I've also got my comm system connected, so that's the Cardo FreeComm 4 Plus, I think it is. And it worked really, really well with that, because particularly when I did some touring rides and I had my wife on the back, that meant we could communicate and made the trip a lot easier. And certainly fitting it was easy, just a really cool helmet. I'm not gonna go into kind of like the safety levels or anything like that. Being a Shoei, obviously a really good level of safety. The comfort for me is good, with the exception of just that little bit of pressure across the forehead. Breathes really well, a great, nice wide field of view through the visor, the peak. Really useful thing, but you can use it as a road helmet without the peak very, very easily, which is what I do. And as long as you've got a small pair of goggles, they will fit and you don't need to take the visor off. So all things worth considering if you're looking at this helmet. And I guess one of the other things I will mention is that I've got my GoPro stuck to the chin. I just used a standard curved GoPro mount, and only, let's say half of the mount is actually stuck to the chin of the helmet, but the mounts are so high quality from GoPro that is really secure there. It's been on for years, never had an issue, and that does the job as well. So if you're worried about sticking a GoPro on the front, like I have done, you don't need a special mount. You can just use a standard GoPro stick-on curved adhesive mount, and I just added a tiny little bit of two-sided tape on either side where it's not really touching the helmet. Just really, more than anything else, not to stick it on, but to prevent muck and stuff getting in there and causing it to come loose, and it never has. So yeah, if you're looking at the Shoei Hornet ADV, definitely recommend it. It's a really cool helmet. I'd say it's more of like an all-rounder that just does an exceptional job. And while it is an expensive helmet, you don't need a road helmet and one of these, just get one of these. And I'm a huge fan of Shoei. I've had a number of Shoeis and they've never let me down, and certainly the Hornet ADV has been another helmet which I have found great and I would certainly recommend for anyone else. I did consider buying another one because this one is getting a little bit older, but like I said, I went for the Shoei GT-Air 2 because I'm hoping I'll get some better moto vlogging results out of that one so that I can kind of record my thoughts on a bike and have a better audio quality, just because that should be a slightly quieter helmet. Anyway, if you've got any questions about the Shoei Hornet ADV, just let me know down below in the comments. I'll do my best to answer your questions. As always, stay safe out there. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon.